Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is section 2 of the Jerry Goldman and Richard Allen interrogation and interview video, which I intend to be doing an analysis of. This may actually turn into a four-parter due to the fact that earlier this week something was happening in my home city and it interfered with my train of thought. Now, here's the thing. Welcome to all new subscribers. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay? It really doesn't. And in fact, to be honest with you, I say to everybody, welcome. But please bear in mind, what I'm about to tell you is based on my own experiences, it's based on my own opinions, and it's based upon my own thoughts, having spent 8 years in a similar position to law enforcement officers. Now, let's jump into it, shall we? Alright. As you know, I left you all at 15:04 on the timestamps, where Mr. Allen said, "You know what? Kill me. Go on, do it, because you'll make my wife a very rich woman." That's a pretty damning statement coming from an individual like that. Okay. Now, I hope some of you have watched the actual interrogation and interview video. I believe you have. But later on, I will be conducting a small test based upon the science of observation and memory. Okay? There is no prize in this. There is no, because quite frankly, I don't do that. I really don't. Now, let's dive into section 2. This will be slightly shorter than section 1 due to the fact of what happened earlier this week. So we'll start here. This starts where Mr. Holeman presents Mr. Rick Allen with the warrant for DNA testing. Now, as I explained in section 1, a warrant for DNA is usually required to basically exempt you from any wrongdoing or otherwise. Okay? And seeing as the fact that there is literally zero evidence of Mr. Allen's DNA or otherwise at the crime scene where 2 little girls were murdered, yeah. But I have to give Mr. Holeman some credit here. He actually read the warrant out to Mr. Allen on camera. That's fair enough. No, that is. At 19:11, Mr. Allen is starting to show some level of anxiety. As he has explained to Mr. Holeman, I suffer from anxiety. I've had depression in the past. Now, if I was Mr. Holeman, I would have said, okay, tell you what, we can suspend the interview for now, and we can, we'll give you a bit of time to compose your thoughts. Okay? We'll give you a little bit of time to calm down. It's not a problem. No issue there. At 20:30, Holeman returns to the room with no full facial due to the angle of the camera. I've mentioned this before about the angle of the camera. it's not a good angle. It's extremely difficult to read a person if their back is to you. Okay? So just bear that in mind. It's extremely difficult for anyone. The DNA officer arrives to take the DNA swab test. Now, he puts his gloves on. Yeah, that's a common practice. No argument there. Except that he touches other items on the desk before actually opening the DNA envelope package. You don't do that. You don't even touch anything until you've done that DNA swab and you take the gloves off. There you go. At 23.05, Mr. Holeman says, well, the ball's in your court. The ball's in your court, Rick. That's a pretty fair statement. He's basically trying to give him an option. He's trying to give him a choice. Okay? It's pretty standard either way. Rick's response is, you just took DNA. What else do you want me to do here? With open hands. Open body language. What else do you want? Okay? You take my DNA. You've effectively ruined my reputation in this town. What else do you want? It's a pretty fair enough assessment, isn't it? Alright, excuse me 2 seconds, please. Okay. Holeman appears. Now, whilst this conversation is going on, the DNA guy is packing up. He's getting the DNA swabs together, he's taking off his gloves, and he's making ready to leave. Now, Mr. Holeman asks him, anything? Believe me, that was probably absolutely nothing to do with the DNA that has just been taken from Mr. Allen. It was most likely in response to something else that was occurring. Okay? It could be something to do with, say, Mrs. Allen. Have we got anything from that? Or it could be anything else. It's a pretty vague question. Don't forget. At 23:13, Mr. Holeman asks Rick, so you're effectively telling me it's over. We're done. Yeah. That's a reasonable question, but it's very vague, very open-ended. You don't say that sort of thing. Okay? End of. You just say, okay, is there something you'd like to elaborate on, for instance? Now, Mr. Holeman is apparently claiming to be an expert in the read technique. No, he's not. The read technique requires the investigative officer, or indeed the law enforcement officer, to build up a report with the person of interest or the suspect. That usually takes between 15 to 25 minutes on average before you start asking them some serious questions. It's really quite simple. But as I explained in my earlier video, Holeman didn't do this. He actually went straight in, like a bull in a china shop. You don't do that. You've got to talk to your person of interest. You've got to talk to your suspect. It's really quite simple. As you noticed, I am wearing glasses. At 24.49, Rick is starting to figure things out. He's starting to figure things out, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're trying to trick me into saying something, or trying to trick me into a confession. That clearly indicates that Mr. Allen is not stupid. Okay? He is not stupid by any means. Because in order to be a pharmacy assistant or even a pharmacy supervisor, you have to have a working knowledge of medications and everything else. That means he's not stupid. Okay? Hell, I wish I had that kind of qualifications. Believe me, I do. At 29:47, Mr. Holeman is showing some definite signs of agitation. Okay? He actually gets up and walks out of the room, and although you don't see it in the video, you can very clearly hear him saying, "Jesus Christ," in a very derogatory and agitated manner. When you're trying to interview or interrogate someone, you're not supposed to show any kind of emotion. Simply because of the fact that once you do, that suspect or that POI will immediately act upon that in any situation. I've conducted in over 300 odd interviews and interrogations in the course of my career, and that was nigh on 20 years ago. Okay? At 29:47 to 30:08, there appears to be some kind of, it could be something to do with the editing of the court TV systems where it stops and then it starts again. And that's down to editing. We can't do much about that, so we don't really see what happens there at all. That's a fair enough thing to do. It's no problem. You've got to obviously edit something. At 31:04, according to Holeman, an extraction mark off a ballistics test is like a fingerprint. No, it's not. Because the extractor is causing said extraction mark without anyone even touching the round in question. If you're touching rounds like this, you wear gloves, as demonstrated by Miss Oberst. She was the ballistics expert that was called in to assess the rounds. Let's put it this way. An extraction mark is done by an extractor. or by the racking of said weapon. Not by human hands. There wouldn't be a fingerprint. The only place there would be a fingerprint is when a person is using their thumb to push the rounds into the magazine or the cartridge. It's very simple. So I don't know where Holeman was coming through with that one. At 34.13, Rick says, you know what, I've never seen or indeed been around those girls in my entire life. Non-deceptive. He wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. If he had indeed met those girls before, he would have stayed away. You see, a person with anxiety, whether it's social anxiety or indeed otherwise, they don't feel too comfortable around other people. Ever. I know plenty of people with social anxiety or otherwise. Okay? Now, at 35.52, Holeman appears to be insinuating something, saying, you know you did this. Please, this must be something that's been bothering you for a very long time. Why don't you just get it off your chest? Come clean. You see, Mr. Holeman, if a person is not lying to you in previous statements, then why are you attempting to insinuate that Mr. Allen had indeed seen or indeed been around those girls? Chances are he's never met them in his life. You see, I go to work at a certain time every morning. Every morning. Every weekday. And at that time in the morning, it's dead as a dodo. There's no one. Hardly anyone, in fact. Okay? You maybe get the odd, one or two people, the odd car going by. And these are people that I don't know. I've never met them in my life. Okay? So how can you determine whether Mr. Allen has indeed seen nor indeed been around those girls? That's a very good question, isn't it? Okay, sorry it's a short one for today, but I like to give people a bit of food for thought. Okay? Now, I'm going to start off, this is the fun part now. I've also gone through a couple of other police interrogation and interview videos. One with Sarah Boone, and the other one with Laurie Vallow. Now, this is the fun part, and this is where I'm going to test your powers of observation and memory. Okay? If you look on YouTube, you will find these videos. No question of it. But I would especially recommend looking at the Sarah Boone one. And then go back to watching the Richard Allen and Jerry Goldman one. Now, this is about missing the most crucial and critical thing going. I will be posting the result later on, or the answer. I want to see if any of you people have quite got it figured yet. I figured it out, but I want to see you if you have. So, if you think you've got it, or if you think you've got the answer, drop it in the comment section below, please. Alright? Just drop in a comment. And I will definitely be watching this because it'd be very interesting, I think. Alright? Because I'm sure some people may have had a brush with the law in the past. I don't judge. Nothing new with me. But what's the first thing a police or investigative officer should be doing? That's the question throughout the entire interview. Until then, keep safe, have a good one, and enjoy your weekends, guys.